Hi again, everybody. It is Victor from Mark Lawrence's Playbook. And of course, this is your over under review in the NFL for week 6. And we've got a little bit of a preview for week 7 as well. Now, to my right over here, you see the totals tip sheet newsletter. That's page 1. And I'm sure you see the headline in that publication, the NFL underwhelming season hits a new low, and it certainly did last week. Just when you think that the offenses couldn't get any lower, they do. An already low scoring season literally fell right through the basement last week. Only 3 teams got 400 or more yards of offense, while a whopping 15 teams, that's more than half, had 300 or less total yards. There's only 4 teams this season in the NFL that are averaging 28 or more points per game on the season. Those 4 teams being Miami, San Francisco, Buffalo, and Detroit. While half of the league, that's 16 teams, are averaging 21 or less points per game on the year. The official results for week 6, that was last week, only 2 overs, 12 games went under the total. One of the games was a tie, and that was the San Francisco Cleveland game, depending on your closing line. The only 2 NFL games that went over the total last week were Miami versus Carolina and Indianapolis versus Jacksonville. Not only that, but average points per game scored last week in the NFL, 36.7. That's a true blast from the past because numbers like that, they did not occur with regularity in the NFL since way back in the early 2000s. After 6 weeks now in the NFL, there's been 36 overs, 56 unders. That's 61% under the total. And again, the average points per game for the entire season, a low 43.4 points per game. Of special note, last week, again, all 3 of the prime time games, the NFL night games, ended up going under the total. Kansas City versus Denver on Thursday night, Buffalo versus the Giants on Sunday night, and then on Monday night, of course, the Cowboys and the Chargers also easily went under the total. NFL primetime games have gone under now at a 70% clip this season, 6 overs, 14 unders. And of course, the average over underline this week, with the odds makers making their adjustments, is a very, very low 42.5 as we record our podcast here on Wednesday. That's a very, very low 42.5. When will the low scoring stop in the NFL? Who knows? But with that said, we're going to throw out a free play for you. Now, this is going to be in the Thursday night game. If you have access to the Thursday night game, it's a non conference affair. The first of this week's 3 primetime games will be taking us to the Big Easy in New Orleans, with the Saints hosting the Jaguars in a non conference battle. After opening at 41.5 points, the line has crashed and burned. It's come down to about 39. And that low number, again, is not surprising for a couple of reasons. First off, the sharp over under bettors are aware of the 70% under the total percentage in the primetime games. But not only that, if you want to check out the hottest under team in the NFL, it would have to be the host New Orleans Saints. Dating back to Halloween of last season, New Orleans, last 16 NFL games have gone an amazing 1 over and 15 unders, with a low average of only 31.5 combined points per game. Now, I also ran a query for low line games on this particular day of the week. NFL Thursday games with a low over underline of 40 or less points have gone 6 and 20. That's 6 overs, 20 unders since 2008. That's 77% under the total. And that includes 1 and 10 over under in non division play. like this game. Sealing the deal is the fact that these two teams, the Jaguars and the Saints, have gone a combined 10 and 23 over under on Thursdays in the history of our database. Jacksonville 6 and 9 over under all time on Thursdays, but 0 and 4 in the last 5 years. New Orleans 4 and 14 over under all time on Thursdays, but an amazing 1 and 11 in the last 10 years. If you have time to get some action in on the Thursday night play, we'll recommend going under the total with the Jaguars and the Saints game. That is it for your review of week 6, your preview of week 7. Don't forget this week's totals tip sheet newsletter is available at playbooksports.com. And let's get back to the Mark Lawrence Against the Spread podcast. Best of luck with all your selections in week 7.